Hello, kids, and welcome to episode 11 of the Paranormal Pop-Up Podcast, coming to you from Ferocious Feline Studios in Cassopolis, Michigan. You know, mostly on our channel, on our podcast, we discuss the paranormal. But to believe in the paranormal is to believe in the supernatural in general. Ufology, cryptids, strange happenings in general. I wanted to do something a little different for episode 11. We have broke through our 10 episode wall, and response has been pretty good. And I wanted to do something a little different. So, living here in the state of Michigan, of course, everybody is familiar with the Michigan Dogman. And it seems like for years, for over a century, sightings have occurred all over the upper and mid portion of the Mitten, the state of Michigan. But we've noticed in recent years an upswing in canine cryptid sightings. Now, everybody's familiar with the loup-garou of Louisiana. That has been going on longer than the Michigan Dogman. But sightings in other locations, not as much. Today we're going to listen in to Lon Strickland of Phantoms and Monsters Radio as he addresses the upswing in cryptid canine sightings. So I'm going to turn this over to Lon, and we're going to hear about other sightings from other parts of the country and this upswing in canine cryptid sightings. What is going on in our world?
Hey folks, good evening. I welcome you and our listeners, including first-time chat participants. I hope you find tonight's subject and reports interesting. Now, in July of last year, 2024, a woman in Columbia, Maryland, took her dogs out for a routine late-night walk, only to find herself locking eyes with an 8-foot-tall, white-furred entity lurking at the edge of a power line field. It didn't growl, it didn't charge, she just watched. And when she retreated into her apartment and locked the door, the knob rattled seconds later. A silent message was delivered: "You're not alone." That same month, new reports surfaced from Alabama, West Virginia, Oregon, North Carolina, dozens of them, describing similar encounters with upright canine-like beings. Now, are we truly facing a rise in cryptid canine activity? Or are we just simply becoming more aware or more connected through the digital lens over curiosity and fear? In tonight's presentation, we'll explore the possibility that something fundamental is happening, but also ask the more complex questions. Are we witnessing a surge of actual phenomena or a modern myth evolving in real time? So let's begin by walking the timeline from historic rougarou tales whispered in the Louisiana swamps to the snarling beast that shattered a kitchen door in Clarksville, Maryland, to a man in Oregon who swears a creature watched him release a mouse into the woods before vanishing into the trees. These accounts span generations and geography, but now they're being shared faster, louder, and more often than ever. So could social media, Reddit threads, YouTube videos, and even AI generator visuals be shaping our perception? Well, at the same time, there are real world shifts that can't be ignored. Wildlife habitats are shrinking. The post-pandemic boom in hiking, camping, and rural living has driven humans into areas once left alone. More people may be simply encountering what's always been there or misinterpreting what they want to believe is there. And let's not forget the psychological factors: heightened global anxiety, uncertainty, and our deep-rooted tendencies to mortify, these shadows in the dark. Still, we can't dismiss the sincerity of people coming forward. Whether it's a mistake, a trick of the light, or something we've yet classified, what matters is that witnesses are being shaken to the core, and that demands our attention. So tonight, we look at it all: the genuine reports, possibly the hoaxes, the social media influence, the science, the speculation, and the enduring mystery. So stay with me, and if you've seen something that you can't explain, I want to hear about it from you as well. But before I proceed, please consider supporting the channel by clicking the subscribe and like buttons, and by sharing our content. And your comments are also welcome. Please let me and the moderators know which accounts you found interesting in the presentation, or share your suggestions for upcoming shows. I want to thank everyone associated with this channel. So, cryptid canine search. Dogman sightings are spiking, but why now? Do these investigations reveal a deeper pattern? Now, alongside my colleague, Rissa Miller, we've compiled two of the most compelling and disturbing cryptid canine encounters we've investigated to date. Now, one took place in the rural edges of Clarksville, Maryland, and I've talked about it for about a year or so now, but I'm going a little more in depth with it. And the other, under a full moon in nearby Columbia, Maryland. Are these incidents related? Well, let's talk about the first incident, the Clarksville encounter. In early 2021, a veteran Baltimore Police Department detective working out of the Northern District had a night he'll never forget. Now retired and living alone in Howard County, Maryland, the officer had the habit of working late at his home office. But on this night, around 2 a.m., something outside interrupted his focus. He heard a deep, heavy thud, like something massive hitting the ground right outside the kitchen. He stepped into the hallway alert, and the noise stopped, like whatever was out there knew it was being watched. Quietly and cautiously, he opened the kitchen door and came face to face with a towering figure on the patio. It was a 7-foot-tall creature covered in light gray hair with a long snout full of jagged teeth. Its yellow eyes locked onto his, and then it lunged, hissing. He slammed the door and rushed back to his office and drew his weapon. But it wasn't over. The creature broke in. It tore through the kitchen. Glass shattered, furniture scraped, heavy footfalls echoed as it moved, snorting and growling. When he peeked out to face it, the creature locked eyes again, but instead of attacking, it went silent, then bolted out the door. Later inspection revealed claw marks and damage throughout the kitchen and dining room. He showed me photos, but wouldn't allow them to be released. And though he hasn't seen the creature since, he's certain it still roams nearby. Now, this area is just steps away from the Middle Patuxent Environmental Area, a known corridor for unexplained activity, Bigfoot, cryptid canines, and more. So, is this related to something that happened just last summer, about 11 miles east of where this previous encounter happened? Well, fast forward to the summer solstice weekend, June 22nd, 2024. A woman named M, an insurance investigator, was gaming at home with her dogs when her dogs needed to go out. It was around 1:30 in the morning, a full strawberry moon shining above. She stepped outside behind her apartment at Tamer Meadow in Columbia, Maryland, near a power line field maintained by BG&E. At first, she thought she saw a deer, but then it stood up. It was something else. Towering at about 8 foot, covered in white or ashen gray fur, with massive amber eyes, this creature made direct eye contact with her. Its long arms reached past its knees. Its ears twitched independently, and its tail moved like a cat's, coiled and calculating. Her dogs froze, one violently shaking. Despite her fear, Em stood tall. Recalling how hikers handle mountain lions, she projected her intent: protect her dogs, don't run, don't show weakness. She backed slowly into her apartment, locked the door, and collapsed with her dogs. Moments later, the doorknob rattled. But the creature didn't force entry. It didn't vocalize. It simply left. Now, she's never been the same since, and her younger dog avoids going outside. She installed floodlights. The apartment's installed floodlights. She avoids being outdoors after dark, and is still compulsively checks her windows. What's more, this field connects to the Patapsco Valley State Park, home to decades of sightings of a creature known as the Patapsco Howler, a large, often bipedal wolf-like beast described with eerie intelligence. Now, her encounter may be the most detailed and emotionally charged report of the Howler to date. So we look at the patterns and possibilities here. Now, when we look at the cases side by side, the Clarksville and Columbia case, the patterns do emerge clearly. Both happened between 1:30 and 2 o'clock a.m. Both featured 8 to 9 foot bipedal canines with lighter white fur. Both creatures showed a startling degree of sentience, calculating and observant. One was aggressive and destructive. The other held back, seemingly reading the witness. One left behind physical damage, the other psychological scars. And both occurred near major park corridors, the Middle Patuxent Environmental Area and the Patapsco Valley State Park. These trails, forest, and utility easements may serve as a hidden migration route for something not yet acknowledged by science. Now, these encounters are not isolated. They represent a growing pattern we've seen across Central Maryland, Piedmont, and beyond. Intelligent, upright canines appearing where wilderness meets suburbia. Are these the guardians of the land, as some indigenous traditions suggest? Or are they something far older, something watching, waiting, assessing us? For now, we just don't know. But if you live in these areas, keep your eyes open after midnight and maybe think twice before stepping outside alone. Now, we had another incident that occurred on the night of Friday, June 6th, 2025, and this was forwarded to me by Rissa. And she came up with this report as a result of it. It was a humid night on Friday, June 6th, 2025. A rural, quiet family farm north of Mount Joy, Pennsylvania was broken by the chilling, unforgettable event. And this is in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. The witness, whom we'll call C, had joined relatives and her young children for an overnight stay at a longtime family property at Raffo Township. Though the farm had downsized over the years, the old barn and paddock still stood. The air was thick, overcast, almost like a storm might be rolling in. The moon, though still waxing gibbous, gave little light through the haze. Now, around 10 p.m., C stepped outside after the goats and sheep, which are mostly pets, began to panic. Concerned that a coyote or wild dog had approached, she grabs the large Maglite flashlight kept near the back door. But as she neared the animals, the noise stopped. All was still, unnaturally still. That's when a wave of nausea hit her, accompanied by a creepy dread. Standing just beyond the fence line opposite the barn was a tall, dark figure. In the overlapping light of the porch, barn bulb, and flashlight beam, C froze. It wasn't a man. It couldn't be. The silhouette was far too large. An upright, fur-covered creature, 7 to 8 foot tall, with pointed ears, a long snout, and amber eyes that locked with hers. It didn't flinch under the light. It didn't flee. It regarded her, almost curiously and intelligently. She remembers stories told by older family members, tales of the Hexenwolf, a German witch wolf whispered about in the old Pennsylvania Dutch lore. Though skeptical of such things, her instincts screamed this was no ordinary animal. The creature made no sound, not even as it turned and walked away, crossing a gravel driveway in complete silence. That detail would stay with her. No crunching, no shuffling. It moved gracefully, fluidly, as if it wasn't entirely grounded in this world. And by the time she recovered enough to move, it was gone. She ran inside, waking her uncle, who came outside armed. Together, they secured the animals and checked the area, but the entity had vanished, leaving no tracks, not even in the damp ground. Now, that night, she didn't sleep. She stood watch at the window, haunted by what she had seen. The next day brought rain and more questions, but no answers, no evidence, no explanation, just an unshakable fear. She didn't tell her children, fearing the nightmares it might bring, but she couldn't stop herself. Insomnia, dread, and paranoia followed. She feared it might find her again. Importantly, C is not a cryptid follower, nor someone drawn to the paranormal lore. She's a medical professional grounded in science, not superstition, and yet she knows what she saw. Now, this case bears hallmarks consistent with other upright canine encounters in Pennsylvania, particularly the black fur, pointed ears, yellow amber eyes, and eerie intelligence that have been reported. The detail of silent movement on gravel is chilling, but recurring theme in high strangeness areas. The mention of the Hexenwolf, with its roots in Pennsylvania Dutch lore, adds more layer. Could this be a folkloric archetype, or returning in modern form, a residual entity from ancestral belief systems, or something far stranger, interdimensional, intelligent, and watching? The witness hopes that by sharing her stories, others who've remained silent might come forward too, because the forest of Pennsylvania may still hold secrets passed down from centuries of whispered stories, and some of them, it seems, still walk upright under the cover of night. So I've got another one here from a witness who states to me, "Hello, I want to report disturbing activity around my residence over the past 2 weeks. I hope you can provide some insight into what we're dealing with. I live in a rural area of southeastern Oklahoma, a few miles from Talkeetna. I've lived here for all of my 48 years, and I've never experienced anything strange in this area before. On June 1st at about 10:30 p.m., I was on my back porch reading the newspaper. My husband was getting ready to leave for work. My porch faces a large wooded area about 800 feet or so from the lake. I have a small yard, and the edge of the woods is about 50 feet from the house. My husband walked out the back door, said goodbye, and walked to his truck. As soon as he pulled away, I heard a loud, shrill sound coming from the direction of the lake. It reminded me of a pig squealing, but it was much more audible and scarier. I didn't get up from my chair as I looked towards the woods. After a few minutes, I heard something heavy walking through the woods. It was something or someone on 2 legs. It was so dark that I couldn't even see anything. Suddenly, 3 deer burst out of the woods and ran along the house. I thought they caused the noise, so I got up and walked into the house. Most nights, after I come home from work around 8:30 p.m., I eat dinner and then go out on the porch to read the newspaper. Now, ever since that first night, I've heard the same shrill sound on 4 other occasions. My husband sat with me a few times, and he was surprised by the noise. He's been a hunter all his adult life, but he had no idea what made those sounds. So the next Tuesday night, I was sitting on the porch talking to my daughter on the phone. My husband was working that night. It was around 10:45 p.m. I had a strange feeling most of the evening and kept my gaze focused towards the woods. I was about ready to get up and walk into the house after ending the call, but then I noticed a pair of bright yellow eyes looking at me from the woods. It was only a few feet into the brush, and the eyes were at least 7 feet from the ground. I ran into the kitchen, quickly closed doors, and locked it. I turned off the lights inside, but the porch light was still on, and the edge of the woods was slightly illuminated. As I peeked out the window above the sink, I noticed a tall, huge, dark figure standing in the back of the yard. The eyes still shone brightly and were looking in my direction. As I continued to watch, my eyes adjusted to the low light, and I then noticed the long, thick arms with fingers and long nails. I recognized the long snout and long pointed ears. Then suddenly it turned and ran into the woods. It was gone. I was trembling because I had no idea what I had just seen. I called my daughter back and told her, my son-in-law, and she immediately came over and spent the night. He brought his rifle with him. The next morning, I told my husband what I had seen. He's part Osage Indian and believes in animal spirits, but was confused by this thing I described. He told me that it might be a trickster spirit, and if we ignore it, it won't bother us. I'm not so sure I believe that. This didn't look like a spirit and resembled a huge dark coyote walking on two legs. Have you heard of anything like this? Please contact me. I'd like to ask you a few questions. Well, I did call the witness and tried to answer her questions. She has not been able to see tracks or any other evidence. She heard the shrill sound 2 nights ago before I contacted her before she went to bed. And her husband contacted the authorities, but she said that he was just making inquiries, wanting to show if there had been any other reports. It seems they refused to give out any information. Now, her neighbors have not noticed anything unusual, but she told me that they were elderly and rarely went outside. I asked her to keep me informed of further incidents, so we'll see what comes up. So this next witness states, "Hello, Lon. I came across your site after searching for a creature I saw in the spring of 2016 in southeast Louisiana near Franklinton. My son, 12 years old at the time, and I were traveling on back highways at about 10 p.m. We started going around this curve to the right, and another car was coming in the opposite direction, so I dimmed my headlights. That's when I saw it. This thing was about 8 foot tall, standing on the right side of the road. It was looking at the other car, and as it passed, it turned to look in our direction, crouched down into a sprinter stance. Its hair, fur color were dirty white, which covered most of the body. It was human-like in the upper torso. I'm not sure about the bottom half. The head was wolf-like and large, with dirty white mane that was thick and running down its back. The encounter only lasted about 10 seconds. I only focused on the top. Its waist was relatively thin with defined human-like musculature. It had its ears back like a cat. Its eyes were bright yellow. Its mouth was wide open and full of sharp teeth and long canines. My son claims it had inverted knees like a dog. I referred to it as a were-dog. The fur color and other attributes matched the descriptions of the rougarou, which I was familiar with from the tales told me by my grandfather. But we saw it less than 10 miles as the crow flies from our house, and this is a bit disconcerting. There was a sighting of a similar upright creature a few years ago, about 3 miles from where we had our encounter. Now, this very description is very close to what we get from rougarou sightings, which I've had several coming out of Louisiana over the years. So maybe there is something to the legend. So a man in North Alabama has been seeing a variety of strange creatures recently. An orange-eyed, wolf-like being was spotted watching him through a window. So I was contacted by the witness who was asking for additional information. He asked me, I've always had weird experiences, but it's ghosts or strange animals. It just always seems to follow my family and me. We recently moved into an old farmhouse just off the main road near Guntersville, Alabama. The house has 88 acres of land, and only 4 people, including us, live on or near the land. When we first moved in, nothing abnormal happened. It was just a small house that seemed like a new start for all of us. Now, after a month of living there, we started hearing strange noises outside at night, but nothing too serious. One night, we decided to have a fire and drink some beer. Well, a few other guys who were there that night decided to do some night fishing. Now, while fishing in a pond that was maybe a mile into the woods, we started hearing screaming. We just think that it was one of the girls back at the house, so we headed back, and on our way back, we started noticing that there were no more sounds. No sounds of nature, no birds, no crickets, nothing. So we stopped to listen. And as we do this, we hear the sounds of chains rushing towards us. As it gets maybe 15 foot away, I point a gun at where the sound was coming from and fire a shot into the ground a couple of inches from it. After a minute passes, the chain sound rushed toward the house. Nothing happened after that until we all went inside and started going to bed. We all hear a female scream again, but behind it is a deep, distorted laugh. Now, after that, nothing happened. But 3 weeks later, my dad and I were fishing out at the impound late in the afternoon. As it inches closer to dusk, we noticed 3 pale white animals on the opposite side of the pond. But as soon as we see the animals, they run. Instead of running on all fours, they jump up on their hind legs and leap 8 foot into a tree, then hop from the tree to tree. As we see this, we decide to head back home, but on the way back, we hear the tree start rustling, and it keeps getting closer and closer until we get to the house and lock the doors. I decided to set up cameras in the woods and around the house. At first, I don't get anything, just deer, coyote. But one night, a camera close to the house is moved for an hour and then moved back. And nothing came of that until one night recently. After a long day of working, I decided to play a video game with a few friends. At about 11 p.m., I heard 2 taps, but I ignored them, thinking they were coming from the game. It continued until 2 a.m. Periodically, every 5 minutes, 2 consecutive taps would happen. I finally took my headphones off and heard it at the window. When I looked, I saw orange eyes 7 feet off the ground. After 2 minutes of staring at each other, it moved closer to the window and smiled at me with blood-stained daggers for teeth. Its face looked like a pale wolf-like face with some decay around the side of its head and neck. After doing this, it backs away, then leaves. Now, every night, something happens. Like tonight, as I'm writing this, it rushed onto the porch and clawed the door. As it's doing this, it's bellowing out a laugh that almost sounds like a deranged madman crossed with a hyena. Now, at this point, I'm not sure what to think. Are we being hunted? Now, that's a fascinating account. I don't know what they ran into. The description of the creature at the window is interesting. I've received a variety of harrowing encounters from cryptid wolves and upright canines for the past 5 or so years around the Birmingham, North Alabama area. And we do have a team down there, had been looking into this during that period of time. So I have shared a few of the, some of the evidence and some of the audio and video evidence with the team. But so far, I just haven't released anything. But it's interesting. I don't know what's really going on. Some of the investigators have had encounters with these creatures before, but we're trying to figure out what has been going on around that South Birmingham area. Now, a West Virginia woman states that she had encountered 2 werewolves near her property along West Virginia 5 and the Little Kanawha River. It's a very harrowing incident. So she states, one night in the summer of 2022, I was out along the road that goes past my house. We're in a pretty rural area here along West Virginia 5, which parallels the Little Kanawha River from Elizabeth to Grantsville. But the animals here are always the same. Until the late 1990s, the state DNR let coyotes loose, and in the early 1980s, wild turkey. Now they're releasing wild elk. Yet there are no sightings of these creatures. I have heard black panthers and even seen 2 dead kittens. At my friend's house, her dad had chased and treed the kittens, but the mother got away. To this day, West Virginia DNR refuses to state that black panthers exist in West Virginia. That night, I saw something I never thought I'd see. 2 giant wolves that were bigger than anything I had seen before. I know people who own wolves, and I have been around them. When they left on vacation, I even fed their pet wolves, so I know how big they can get. But these were no regular wolves. These are twice my size, and they gave this eerie feeling. They walked off the hillside and came out of the foggy mist. Their eyes had this glow of yellow even before I turned my phone's flashlight on them. Yes, I had my phone in hand. Why no pictures? Because I was scared stiff. I was just able to look and see these 2 wolves, with one being smaller than the other. Both were very skinny, hippie, or one could say bony. Gray with black color markings around its eyes and ears, brown down its back, and a gray bushy tail. Tail as long as my leg. The heads were way bigger than my own. Glowing yellow eyes looking right at me and slowly walking past me. Both were moving together and moving their heads when needed to keep me in view. Then they crossed the road and disappeared into the riverbank. Across the river on the hillside were coyotes barking and yapping. That was until those 2 wolves crossed the river to their side. Dead quiet then. No noise at all, no bugs, no birds, no coyotes. When my heart started again, I ran as fast as my legs could carry me. No wolves here in West Virginia, huh? Not here. That would have been bought here by pets. These 2 were no pets. I think the smallest, the one closest to me, was a female. I also feel she protected me from the male, the biggest one. She nudged him to go on, and I thank her for that. He would have killed me easily. They both could have bit my throat. It's not too often I venture out further than my yard nowadays. This property has many supernatural events happening here, but that night I truthfully feel we had a werewolf and its mate. I know what I saw, and it scared me so bad that I had become afraid of the dark, even on my property that I grew up on. It has changed me in ways I can't explain. I have become more nature-minded. I worship nature and the power she holds. If it weren't for her, I wouldn't be here today. I know these creatures exist, and I give them a wide path of travel, always respected and mindful of their presence. Now, this next account, and I want to thank those who have been contributing. I see Alexis. I know some other ones have as well, and I'll try to get to them and mention them later. Hi, I was born and raised in North New Jersey. My boyfriend and close friends love to explore mysterious locations throughout the state. One day, I found an exciting area. It is located in Trenton, New Jersey. It was an abandoned child orphanage, and it also used to operate as an insane asylum. It was late at night, maybe after 10 p.m., and we were following the GPS to the location, hoping not to run into police or have to deal with being run off. We wanted to get inside the buildings. It was known when it was open as the Trenton Psychiatric Hospital. As we drove past the side of the actual orphanage, my mind was not on finding cryptids or any creature, but rather on assessing the security. Suddenly, out of the absolute nowhere, I saw this dark, blacker than black, what I would only describe as a canine-shaped body. But when I saw it, the thing was in the middle of jumping out of a view next to the side of the road. All I was able to see entirely was the lower half of this thing, from mid-torso to the tail. As it leaked out of the sight, it scared the crap out of me. What stuck out in my mind was the tail. This thing had a tail like a fox's tail, but it was bushy and large. But New Jersey doesn't have foxes. Well, I've later learned that they have, but certainly not black foxes. This animal was more massive than a large dog and much larger than a coyote. Like I said, I was not out that evening with this in mind. I was out on a ghost hunt. I turned to my boyfriend who was driving and asked if he had seen what I saw. He did not, which makes sense because the thing was on the side of the road and it was dark. I never saw the face or the upper half. It leaped from the side of the road into the brush next to the building. It was on all fours, but New Jersey doesn't have wolves or anything that fits that description. Now, I Googled all the native animals in New Jersey, and nothing was like that I saw. If I witnessed this thing in another more rural state, I would have to keep an open mind, but New Jersey doesn't have native animals that have that type of description. I have never seen a dogman or even a Bigfoot, but I have no doubt they exist. But I sometimes wonder if that's what I saw, some kind of dogman or cryptid or canine creature. I know I wasn't seeing things. It was blacker than the blackness of the night. It scared the bejesus out of me. Well, I have had several cryptid canine reports in the Pine Barrens area over the years. Now, some people say, well, of course, it's the Jersey Devil or something else. I don't know what it is, but there have been some pretty interesting sightings of something that's described as a cryptid canine. In fact, this was up around Trenton and closer to the river, closer to the Delaware River and further north is interesting. But we have had accounts of these creatures being in abandoned areas before, so who knows? Now, a Western North Carolina resident contacted me concerning an encounter that they had with an unknown canine creature, and after researching the encounter, the witness believes that it was a dogman. So this is what the witness tells me. I have read several of your reports from Western North Carolina and thought that I would contact you. I had an encounter last summer while on break at work during a slow part of the night. I live and work in Mitchell County, which is in Western North Carolina. This is a county that you have written about since you have family from there, and you're aware of the varied wildlife. I would take a short drive to a park near my workplace that had a lot of wildlife. I like to watch the occasional raccoon or fox breaking the woodline. The park backs up into a rather large creek, and the area is devoid of artificial light as the darkness of the woods does not spook me or make me jumpy. I was raised in the mountains and I enjoyed the solitude. On this night, there were no normal night sounds such as crickets or frogs. I also found it strange that all the wildlife seemed to be gone from the area. This bothered me a bit. I decided to leave some dog food on the edge of the woodline, hoping to entice a peculiar family of raccoons out so I could see what they were okay and see if they were still there. I didn't see a gray fox that would hang around that area. This fox would come out within a few feet of me, meander around, and retreat back into the woods. Now, after walking near the woods with the food, I heard a deep growl come from the edge of the woods. I had never listened to the animal growl with such intensity or so profoundly. I could feel the vibration of a growl hitting my face and inside my chest. I knew it wasn't a bear. Those sounds I'm familiar with. I dumped the food in the ground with one hard drop, hoping that whatever was in the woods would just take off. I backed away with my head down until I reached my truck. My instincts told me to drive away, so I did. But I decided to go back about an hour later. I was now curious as to what this creature was. I parked in the same place and this time walked to the back of the truck to grab a smoke. While standing there, I observed a dark mass come across the road and disappear into the overgrown open field with wild blackberry bushes and grass. I do have a sharp eye and I was able to discern some details. I can only describe this creature as a hybrid canine. It was on all fours, but it did not appear natural. It moved very quickly with fluid motions. The gait was weird as well, like the front legs were pulling its body forward. It almost had a human-like movement to it, as if it could stand on two legs if needed. The long back was hunched and the snout was long, but it fit its body. What struck me most were its ears, which were large and folded back. The legs almost had muscle mass. My background working with dogs told me that this was something very unusual. I just know that it was there one minute and gone the next. Now, when daylight came, I drove back to the location and looked for tracks, but listened to my gut and did not enter. For several months, I didn't tell anyone about it. I started searching the internet for what I had seen. I wondered if it had been a hybrid that had escaped. I found several online sites, but none seemed to come close to what I had seen. Then I came across a picture of a dog man. I later spoke with a few of my coworkers. Of course, they told me that it was a bear or a large domestic dog. But a few of them did acknowledge that the wildlife in the area had been disappearing for a while. I don't speak about it because of ridicule, but I do know what I saw and heard and how many instincts reacted to it. So, folks, that's the last account. If you have any questions, please put them up there and let me know, and we'll see what we can come up with. Okay, folks, well, that's going to be it for tonight. And please like, subscribe, and share. And I also want to thank those folks who have made donations. Very appreciative. These things aren't cheap, but you know, when things go wrong and they pop up, you got to take care of it. So until we meet again, stay healthy and safe. Have a great weekend, and good night.
Welcome back to the studio. A special, very special thank you to Lon. I really admire this guy. Where I have the knowledge of the paranormal, he takes the cake when it comes to the mysterious, supernatural, the cryptids, the reports. His team is exquisite. And I could only hope and pray that one day we are up to his level of knowledge and experience in these different genres. What is going on in our world? Are canine cryptid sightings on the rise? Even here in the state of Michigan, in days past, the reports of the dogman seemed to start arising in the month of October and leading through the middle of November. And in recent years, there are individual reports coming in throughout the year. Is there a rise? Is something occurring in our world that's causing these reports, that's causing these sightings to occur more often? I don't know. I personally have been trying for 2 years to set an expedition up in our forest here in the state of Michigan, where a lot of sightings have occurred. But it just seems like I can't get a group of people who want to go camping in a state forest on off season when things start to get cold. I'm all for it. I'm an old man, and I am gung-ho to get out and film and see if these reports in our local forests pans out. Yes, it could be dangerous, but it's what it's all about. The good with the bad. But that'll conclude episode 11 of the Paranormal Papa Podcast, our Canine Cryptid Sightings on the Rise. Again, I would like to thank Lon Strickler and the Phantoms and Monsters Radio for such a high level of research and for bringing these mysterious things to the light. Of course, if you'd like to support Paranormal Papa Podcast, Paranormal Papa Investigations, you can do so at our PayPal account. That is www.paypal.me/MrHistory2020. This has been episode 11, Paranormal Papa Podcast, our Canine Cryptid Sightings on the Rise. Until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. God bless you, God love you, we do, and happy hunting.